Hey yo, I am the star in any room that I stand in. I am the standout, you just my stand-in. These bitches copy my homework, that's what they hand in. That's why I'm private like the airports I land in. Life is a beach house, don't let the sand in. I ball in any arena, go let the fans in.
I'm a white woman with black children, and the things people say to me sometimes about my kids absolutely blows my mind. And while the comments are generally well-intentioned, they usually turn out to be harmful, especially if my kids were to hear you saying them. So let's have a little educational moment on things you shouldn't say to your friends with black children. The other day, my friend was holding my 3-month-old baby, and we were talking about his looks, and I made the comment that I hate that I have to wait a whole year to find out what his curl pattern is going to turn out to be like, because for reference, I have 3 older kids, and all 3 of them came out with completely different hair, but when they were born, they all had the same straight hair, and then by about a year, you could start to tell what their curl pattern was going to be like. My 2 oldest both have a very tight curl pattern, and my third has curls so loose that his hair might as well be straight. Then my friend goes, oh yeah, you don't know, is he going to end up with high maintenance hair or low maintenance hair? Hopefully he gets that low maintenance hair, huh? Huh? First of all, what does that mean? Because it sounds like you're implying that I'm hoping that my 4th baby doesn't get tight curls. And if that's the case, it sounds like you're implying that I wish my 2 oldest didn't have tight curls because they're too high maintenance to take care of. But that's not the case at all. And imagine if they heard you say that. Thankfully, they weren't in the room when you said that, but imagine if they heard you putting that negative connotation on their curl pattern. I have never once wished away their tight curls. I have never once wished that their hair was easier to do or lower maintenance. I genuinely am so grateful that I get to learn how to do hair different than mine. And I just think it's so funny that people think I would wish that their hair was lower maintenance. And the reason I bring this up is because this isn't just a one-off situation. The amount of times I've received comments like that about my kids' hair, talking about, oh, their hair must be so hard to do, huh? Was it so hard to learn how to do your kids' hair? Yeah, just stop those comments. Take this as a learning moment. Don't make comments like that about your friends' kids with curly hair. Okay? Thanks. Bye. Love you guys. Do better.
What's up, y'all? I hope all is well. So I wanted to do this quick commentary in response to this video I saw on Instagram of this white mother of biracial children talking about some texturist comments that a friend of hers made about her child's hair texture. So I thought it was really, I thought it was an interesting conversation to have, something I haven't really addressed on my channel yet. And I was actually surprised with the response in the comment section from people. I was a little taken aback by that. So I just wanted to give some reaction in response to what the woman in the original video said, as well as the reactions in the comment section. So I first want to address what her friend said about her new son's hair being low maintenance, or asking if she hopes that her son's hair is going to be low maintenance. So I find that to be really interesting, because when I first watched the video, I was wondering, well, I wonder what race the friend who made the comments was. And some people say, well, it doesn't matter. The comment is problematic either way. But I'm from the school of thought where I think it does matter the messenger of certain comments. That doesn't make it any better or worse, but it's a different conversation. But after I watched more, I could definitely tell that this was another white woman she was talking to. Just based on what I know about black and white people and how they talk, I can tell she's talking about another white woman. And that also got me to thinking, I wonder if that woman also has biracial kids, considering how she had that context to if the hair is easier or difficult to do, also because a lot of mixed families tend to hang out with each other. So I was wondering about that. Either way, there is a connotation that white people who aren't exposed to mixed people have, that curly hair is difficult to deal with. Actually, from my personal experience, and why I wanted to do this video, is because I did want to address some of the texturism and anti-afro hair sentiments that white people will project onto mixed people, because that's actually something that I've experienced myself. Now I experienced this as an adult, so I was like in the workplace, I was like fully formed, brain and everything, so I didn't have to deal with that as a child. But what the comment that woman made was reminiscent of the same comments that I've gotten. So I know that this is a thing. So I thought that that was really interesting also. Both anti-black comments that I got from white people at my job were in regards to the maintenance of my hair or how I keep it clean. You know, like white people will do this thing where they will ask very invasive questions or something that they shouldn't be asking and trying to make it seem like it's just like benevolent. Like they're just like, oh, I'm just inquiring. And it's like, no, you knew you said that being shady. You knew you said that with weird intentions, and it's just simply not your business. So you really just exposed your microaggressive energy because you shouldn't have even brought that up or asked that question to begin with. So you really just exposed yourself. So I can relate to where she was coming from. And that kind of relates to the reaction you're going to see in the comment section as well. But yeah, the friend might have thought like, oh, she's just benevolently asking you like, oh, are you worried that your friend's hair is your child's hair is gonna be like harder or more easier to do? And it might seem like it's not a big deal, or it's just like a benevolent question, but it does speak to the intent behind it, because it does give the connotation that curly hair is difficult or a burden or something that, you know, is problematic, or just like, you know, is just like kind of a drag. And people will say that that's reading too much into it, but curly hair doesn't really have to be hard. Like, it, no matter the hair texture, it doesn't have to be difficult to maintain. It's really about how you want to style it, wear it, you know, deal with it, leave it, you know what I mean? But it doesn't have to be difficult. So associating natural hair with being negative, with being difficult to deal with, and then associating straight hair with being easy to deal with, because nobody will go to, you know, a Asian person with super straight hair or a European with super straight hair and be like, oh, are you worried that your kid's hair is going to be hard to do? Now, granted, do they deal with like bed hair and, you know, knots or getting gum in it and lice and things like that? Yeah, but let's be real here. Let's stop majoring in minors. There's not a social connotation with straight hair being hard to deal with. There is a social connotation of curly or afro textured hair of being hard to deal with. So that's why the mother of the mixed kids who made the video, she immediately clocked that woman's tea as you kind of making a microaggressive comment. Also, as a white person, I just feel like, why are you even feel comfortable making a comment like that? That's what I feel weird about. Because even as like a black woman, I would not be talking to another black woman about her kid's hair and be like, oh, your kid is gonna have hard hair to deal with. That would sound texturist as hell. Like, come on now, that would sound crazy. Like, I would never look at a kid with like deep, like tightly curled hair and be like, oh, are you worried their hair is going to be hard to deal with? That's an insane comment to make, even as a black person. So what I read this situation as was that she was trying, maybe she was a friend, a white woman friend, that this woman who has the biracial kids, she doesn't know that well. And certain white people, they will do things where they will throw out little comments to see how other white people, or even like a mixed or a black person, they'll make little comments to see how you react. And like, basically, if you're with it, or like you go along with it, you don't say nothing, then they'll like slowly say little more ignorant stuff. But when they make a comment originally and you react strongly and shut them down immediately, then you kind of get to see their mindset. Sometimes, okay, maybe they're saying something and they're not thinking about it, they're just being ignorant. But at the same time, a lot of times they know what they're saying and they wouldn't say it around certain groups of people. So they try to play dumb and act like they don't know what they're saying and they're just making small talk, but they wouldn't make those same comments around black women. You know, she's thinking she can make that comment around another white woman just because, you know, she has half black kids, and the woman's like, no, you're not gonna make comments like that around my kids, you know, just because we're both white. So, you know, I really appreciate white people like this that shut down other white people's nonsense and don't go along with stuff, and even in different capacities, not just for their family members or children, but even like, you know, just in general. There are white people who, they'll hear other white people making comments, ignorant comments about, you know, immigrants or people of color or whatever, and they'll shut it down. They're not going to just not say nothing or go with it. They're going to check them and make it clear, like, you can't talk like that around me. And other white people won't like it. You know, so that says something about, like, you know, if you have white friends or white people in your family around you, how they interact with other white people and what they'll allow them to say and do around them. To me, that matters, because I know the people like in my family and even like some friends of mine, I don't think some friends, I don't know for sure, because we know we're not close. So you never know how people get when they get around they people. So, I can't vouch for everybody. But at least, the people I was raised by, grew up with, I know for a fact, and I've heard them tell stories about how they've even had to check other white people about saying some wild shit. So, they really believe sometimes that other white people are just going to they assume a lot of times that other white people are going to go along with certain things that they say. Now they'll try to figure out what level of racist or ignorant that they can be allowed to say, but they will try to figure it out. So I like that woman shut it down immediately, and I see that a lot on social media, and a lot of white people calling each other out and talking about different things that are going on or different comments being said. So I appreciate that. I feel like a lot of cultures are starting to like call the problematic people in their group out. But yeah, so that definitely makes a difference. But like this type of like white woman with biracial kids, this is the type of woman like my mom was friends with and I like was around. I didn't really see that like other dynamic that's talked about on social media. I know it happens, but I also feel like there's a generational aspect to this as well. Cause like in the 70s, 80s, 90s, like in the past, white women that had mixed kids, they usually grew up in black communities, or they were raised with black people where, they would live amongst black people. And that's usually how they ended up with the mixed kid to begin with, So it's like they weren't separated from the culture and things. This dynamic that y'all be talking about now where, they all in all white environments and, this new pathology, like to me, that's all completely new. I'm all learning about this from the internet. I was raised in, New York City. So I saw a completely different dynamic. People are more integrated, have been for a long time. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist. That's just not the dynamic I grew up seeing. So I had a different perspective on mixed families, but I did see certain things growing up where I was like, yeah, y'all definitely, I knew what other black women were saying was true. I'm just saying I saw kind of a mixture of both dynamics. So yeah, but I do think that there's a generational aspect that's different here to it. And you even hear that when you talk to how people, when you hear about how a lot of like Gen X and a lot of Gen X or boomer mixed and like biracial people were raised in the environments that they came from and the circumstances they came from. I notice it is very different from these younger people that are like maybe Gen Z, so maybe like early 20s, teenagers, things like that. So I can only speak on what I've seen. But yeah, so I think that's something, an interesting dynamic too. So I'm only saying that to say, because I wonder what type of, environment she comes from. I'm assuming she's talking to another white woman. So I wonder if this is something that she's having to do with often, where other white people are making ignorant comments. And she's having to, bear the burden of being the educator. And that's stress. I've actually personally known some mixed families, whether the mom was white or the mom was black. I've known them even from New York City to move to other places where they feel like it's going to be easier, just so it could be more diverse. Or maybe like, okay, we're not going to live in this part of New York City, but we're going to move it to this more diverse school district. So, XYZ. So, that's important. And if you're somebody that interracially dates, that's definitely something to keep in mind and think about. Yeah, so I would just be interested to know like what her experience with that has been. Especially that is a good way to lead me into the comment section. So first I'm going to start off with the positive comments that I agree with. So this comment said, she's learning microaggression racism won't be the last time. Yeah, and she already has 3 older kids, so I'm sure, she seems like she really is self-aware and understands society. Like I said, I really like white women like this, and this is the type of white people I grew up around, but I always was aware that I can't assume that the white people I grew up with are a reflection of the collective of white people. So that's definitely something in my life I've always like kind of like a double awareness I've always dealt with, like not like always being aware of that. And so it's interesting. So I think that's another reason why I want to speak on that, because I did feel like when I had those comments made about my hair, I couldn't tell if they were making those comments because, sometimes, and I've spoken about this before, this is an uncomfortable truth, but it is what it is. Sometimes white people will make comments to mixed people because they think that you're not going to address it, or they think that they can get away with it, but they won't make those comments to monoracial or darker skinned black people. And nobody ever talks about that. And often I hear that people will say it in a way like, oh, that means that white people favor mixed people more. And it's like, no, they're betting on that you will let them get away with saying something disrespectful to them. It's not that they like you more. You know what I mean? And in my experience, white people only favor the mixed people that they personally know and related to. They don't extend the olive branch of familiarity to all and every mixed and light-skinned person. So that's a difference between black people and white people. Black people extend familiarity across people of African descent regardless. White people are not like that. They're not even like that with each other, and they definitely not like that with mixed people. They might be like that with a biracial person that they personally know, but they're definitely not like that with an MGM. MGMs they see as black, even if you are very obviously mixed. If culturally, if you come off as black, they will see you as black because they know culturally who the black people are. They also know culturally who the mixed people that were raised with and by white people are also. That's a whole different video. I'll make that video one day. Maybe it'll be behind a paywall. I don't know. But anyway, that's not what I was here to talk about. But yeah, I definitely felt like the comments that they made, I was wondering, to myself for a long time, I'm like, would y'all have made those comments to me if I looked different? Or you know what I mean? Like, because what they said to me was so outlandish for the time. Like, this happened in the last 4 years. And the fact that they said that to me, it's like, y'all should know you can't talk to black women like that. So why would you say that to me? And so it made me think, like, what about me made them feel like they could say that to me? And it just always made me feel that way, because I do know that white people will talk and treat different black people differently based on them being immigrants, based on them having a certain amount of money, based on class, based on marital status. They'll treat you differently based on your aesthetic. You know, there's a lot of different factors that go into how they met you, how they know you. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different factors that go into that stuff. So I always wondered about that, because I asked my friends and stuff, like, if white people had made comments, and it was a man and a woman had made comments about their hair to them in the workplace, and they said they never experienced that. So I just always wondered about that. Maybe I'm being self-conscious, but I don't know. So that's another reason why I really want to talk about this video, because I do feel like white people think that they feel more comfortable saying certain things to mixed people because they feel like you're gonna be cool with it. Maybe because they feel like there is a more you might feel more connected to them, so you might let them get away with saying more things. That's what I think it is. I think they feel like, yeah, you're more, you have a tie to me, you grew up with me more, so you are gonna let me maybe get away with saying a thing or whatever it is. I don't know, but that's how I read it. Yeah. So anyway, so then this other woman said, so this woman said, these people all know what they are saying is rude. That's why they try to phrase it such a passive way. If they really were just curious and had no idea it might be offensive, they would have said something like, since you have a different hair texture, how was it learning how to do their hair? Not, their hair must be difficult to do. All curly hair is high maintenance, but all pretty, so it's worth it. Yeah, I like how she ended that paragraph. But and honestly, again, like, I don't think she means any harm by that. I agree with her. But curly hair doesn't even have to be like that high maintenance. Like, you know, when you watch the hair videos and everything, it does seem really complicated and they do like a million steps, but it doesn't have to be like that. You can grow long hair and just put cream and oil in it and wash it and go. It's because, you know, people want to style it, they want to put it in braids, they want to wear it XYZ way, they want to manipulate it, which is fine, but that makes it more complicated, you know. But if you're doing a child's hair, especially a child under 6, all you got to do is put some cream in it, keep it washed, and put some, you know, a few braids in it, maybe not even that. You know what I mean? You don't even got to do too much. So it don't have to be complicated, especially not for a little kid. So for her to even make that assumption, and yeah, I just feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm self-conscious, but I feel like as a white person, you should be scared to even comment on people of African descent hair anyway. Like, you shouldn't even be comfortable asking or saying none of that. Especially not in a retail setting as I was. But anywho, but yeah. Yeah, it takes maintenance. You have to take care of it, but you have to take care of all hair, and that's another side of the microaggressive energy in her comment, because all hair takes maintenance. Like I said, you could have straight blonde hair or just wavy hair, and you could get bed hair, you could get lice. You still gotta, like, comb it out in the morning and everything. They still gotta brush their hair. Say you put it in a ponytail for like a cheerleading thing, and then your hair gets messed up. All hair takes maintenance. So why is it that people act like curly hair in particular is so much trouble and such a burden? So yeah, there are gonna be people in the comment section playing coy about why her comment is problematic and trying to gaslight. And what I find very interesting and telling about this comment section is that it's pretty evenly white and black people gaslighting this woman and making it seem like she's being so dramatic, like this comment on the screen says. And yeah, just being very rude to her. And I found that very interesting. And even what's crazy, that even some of the people in the comment section that's gaslighting her are either literally other white women that have mixed kids themselves, like this Tracy Jex person, or black women with mixed kids also making weird comments. So it's just very interesting to me. And it also shows what I'm talking about. There's also not always a one size fits all narrative or situation that will happen when it comes to these conversations. But yeah, y'all saw those comments under that post and people just being weird. So yeah, it really does never end when it comes to all this, anti-Afro mixed race and texturist rhetoric. It's a, it is what it is, but they hate us because we beautiful. So is what it is. Get in the comment section, let me know what you thought about my commentary and the video I was reacting to, and thanks for all the support. Bye bye, peace.